I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm up 15 points with Jay McMillan. Hopefully I can win this game.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement, and welcome to Watchers Football Weekly, a podcast within a podcast. And a podcast that's all about the pigskin. We are here today to discuss week 16 of the NFL season, which is still in progress right now. The Cowboys Buccaneers games at halftime. The Cowboys are up in that game. But it's a holiday week, so we're going a little bit earlier with the podcast than we normally would. So, Frank, let's get into it. Let's talk about the week so far. And let's talk about your Chiefs. They got the win yesterday over the Texans on Saturday, 27-19. Another one-score game for the Chiefs to get the win. They're now 14-1. How you feeling about the team? What did you think about the game?
You know what, man? I wasn't stressed for the first time in probably 2 months. Maybe the Saints game, Monday Night Football. It was a good game, man. It was a good game. It was the first time that we probably will begin to see the full complement of weaponry on the offensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. Hollywood came back, and I thought Hollywood would be on the pitch count. He had 7 catches in that game. He had some 50-some yards. They're starting to work Worthy more. He had 11 more targets, 7 catches for 60-some yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
he had a chance to break one out for 80 yards, but got shoestring tackled. The defense looked good. Najee Johnson's playing a lot better. Jaden Hicks, the rookie out of Washington State's playing, is getting an expanding role now. His second straight week with interception. Trent McDuffie, who went 2.5 years without a pick, made first team All-Pro last year, now has 2 picks in back-to-back weeks. I was very satisfied, man. I thought they played a B-plus game. Still some things got to work out on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. You know, Joe Tooney's back at left tackle now, playing out of his left guard spot. Jawan Taylor got hurt, the right tackle, and then moved Wanya Morris to right. And he was graded, PFT. He was a top 5 right tackle from the second half on. So I'm very happy with the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes played well too. The ankle didn't look like it gave him too much issues. I'm very satisfied. It sucks that they have to play 3 games in 11 days. I don't know what the NFL schedule makers were thinking, but hopefully Wednesday, if all goes well, they can wrap things up with a win against Pittsburgh. They can sit out week 18. But overall, I thought it was a great game by Kansas City on Pittsburgh.
There you go. Christmas Day at Netflix on Pittsburgh. From the Texans' perspective, this was to me, like watching this game, this is a game where it's like, you know what? The Chiefs, they play all these one-score games, but they win, right? The Chiefs don't beat themselves. The Texans are very good at beating themselves, and a lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes. What did you see from the Texans? I mean, like you said, you weren't that stressed out about the game. The Chiefs kind of had, it was a close game on the scoreboard, but there was like a couple of moments the first half, maybe early third quarter, where it felt like the Texans still had a chance, but like in the fourth quarter, it was pretty much done and dusted. What did you think about the Texans, how they played? And to me, it seemed like it was kind of the similar script to most of their losses this season.
Yeah, the nucleus of their offense thus far this year has been Mixon, and I knew going into this game, one thing Kansas City does a great job of is taking away your run game. So this had to be a C.J. Stroud game. He has some good throws. That touchdown throw to Tank Dell was a beautiful throw. He has some throw. Tank Dell was very active in this game prior to the injury.
Yeah.
But when Tank Dell went down, that's just another weapon that has gone down for the Texans this year. Playing without Stephon Diggs as well. You can tell C.J. Stroud didn't have a confidence letting the ball loose early in his progressions. Hit onto the ball a lot. He only got sacked twice, but he had 2 turnovers. Trying to force the ball in places, being rushed. He had an opportunity on 3rd and long, deep in their own territory to make a play, and rolling out to his right, he got a sack. He got sacked by Joshua Williams, come up from corner blitz from the opposite side. Stroud, it was a tale of 2 halves, man. I think Stroud he struggles with making early progression reads, and he finds ways to hold on to the ball too long. Yeah. From what I saw in this game, and that's what really hurt them moving forward. offensive line didn't play too bad. I mean, they gave him enough time. He got rushed a few times, but I think not having Tank really changed the passing game. And they took away Nico Collins as well. Nico was blanketed by Trey McDuffie, who's one of the better corners in football.
Mhm.
So I think once Tank went down, it kind of changed their whole offensive approach, and it looked like Slowick didn't have a game plan once Tank went down, because Tank was featured very well in his offense in the
Yeah.
first half. He had like 5-6 catches. They couldn't seem to stop him, and then once he went down, they didn't know what to do.
Mhm. Yeah, talk about Tank Dell. He left the game with a dislocated knee. I think kneecap is what they're saying. You could tell right away he actually caught the ball in the end zone, but then when he rolled over, his knee and leg were mangled to say the
Yeah,
least. So you got to feel like he's probably done for the year. That'd be 2 years in a row where he's had a leg injury that's ended his season.
poor kid, man. Yeah, it looked like it was friendly fire on that touchdown too. It looked like
Yeah,
one of his receiver mates rode up on him at the back of the end zone. Just a tough break for the kid.
yeah. Tough for Tank Dell. Tough for the Texans. I'm not sure even with the healthy Tank Dell would they have a chance in whoever they face in the first round and the wild card round. But without
Well,
him, it's going to be even tougher.
I will say this, man. The Texans front pass rush is really, really good.
Yeah,
They can get to the
definitely.
passer. Mahomes had. I mean, he only got sacked a couple times, but yeah, he got hurt a lot. He had to move off his spot a lot of times, going
Yeah,
through his reads. Danielle Hunter and company, man, they did a great job bringing pressure. It's just now they're gonna have to really rely on mixing, man, moving forward. I know they play Baltimore next week. That has to be a mixing game, mixing play action game,
yeah,
and try to feature Robert Woods. Try to get a second receiver option out there to complement Nico Collins. But what defense is going to do now? They're going to key on Nico because they know CJ wants to get to Nico, and other guys are going to step up.
definitely. Yeah, you mentioned so the Texans they're also playing on Christmas Day. They're hosting the Ravens, which is once again like the same four teams that played on Saturday are playing with 3 days of rest on Christmas Day. So
Crazy.
again, the Chiefs are going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers at noon on Netflix, and then at 3 o'clock Central Time, our time, you've got the Texans hosting the Ravens. Let's talk about that Ravens Steelers game a little bit. The Ravens rolled in the second half, got the win 34-17 to draw even with the Steelers in the AFC North standings. Who do you see winning this division with 2 games left to play?
You know what, man? If George Pickens is not back by season's end, that Pittsburgh offense, that pass game looks completely different and malnourished without George Pickens. He's a big play guy that can win 50-50 balls. He wins on his routes, and he's a guy that creates separation. And Russell has thrown a lot of underneath passes, a lot of short passes since George Pickens has been out, and it's proved a big loss for them. So if Pickens is not back by Wednesday, it looks like he might play Wednesday. It's still up in the air,
Yeah.
but if he's not playing, I got Baltimore winning the division. I think Pickens is the main difference maker.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a threat with the Wilson deep ball. Pickens is his guy on those out routes, so they need to get him back for sure. Sticking in the AFC West, the Chiefs obviously 14-1. They've won the division for the eighth or ninth year in a row. They're likely going to be the 1 seed, but there's 2 other teams in their division that are likely going to make the playoffs, and they played on Thursday. You had the Chargers getting the win, 34-27 over the Broncos. The Chargers are 9-6. The Broncos are now 9-6. Frankie, it seems like these 2 teams are going to be in the playoffs, right?
Well, it's interesting because let's say for shits and giggles, Kansas City loses to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
They own that game up against Buffalo, meaning that KC would have to play their starters versus Denver last game of the season
There you go.
for the number 1 seed. So that's something to play for. In turn, with Denver losing Thursday night to the Chargers, Miami and Cincinnati both won. So
Yeah.
if Denver loses next week to Cincinnati, which is a big game now for the Bengals,
Yeah.
they play Denver. That's the team that's ahead of them. If Denver loses that game as well, and let's say KC has played starters in Week 18, all of a sudden Denver's playing for their football life, for the playoff life.
Yeah.
So with Miami now, who won today against San Fran? So Miami and Cincinnati need Denver to lose out, which is very, very possible depending on what happens in the Pittsburgh KC game, and what happens in the Cincinnati Denver game next week. So it's not entirely out of the question yet for Denver,
Right.
not out of the woods yet. They got to win out to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in the AFC, you got the 7 teams that are currently slotted, and then you've got 3 teams that are still alive. You got the Colts at 7 and 8, and as Frank mentioned, the Dolphins and the Bengals are both 7 and 8. They're still hanging on by a thread. I don't know, but interesting to see what happens. I think most people, like the casual fan of those 3 teams, you'd like to see Cincinnati again because of Burrow and Chase, and they're an entertaining watch because they put up points. But I do think somehow we're going to see Denver and Los Angeles stay in those spots and get those one of those last 2 spots and be in the playoffs. But we shall see how that all plays out. Switching over to the NFC, you had both the Lions and the Vikings keeping pace today. Both of them 13-2, both of them with big wins. You had the Lions beat up on the Bears, which everybody beats up on the Bears. The Bears have now lost 9 straight. And you had the Vikings get a narrow win over Seattle, pulled it out with a late Justin Jefferson touchdown pass from Sam Darnold. They're 13-2. Those 2 teams meet in the final week of the season. Not only could that determine the division, it could determine the number 1 seed, because also today Philadelphia lost. Jalen Hurts got concussed, knocked out in the first half. Kenny Pickett came in, played decent for Kenny Pickett standards, and then wasn't enough though as Washington rallied back. The Commanders got the win today on a final second touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels. The NFC is still very much up in the air. What do you think about the NFC playoff picture?
It's murky, man. It's murky.
Yeah.
With Philadelphia losing today, they're now tied. I think they're still in second because Minnesota's a wild card. But I think Minnesota and Detroit play one more time. And like
Yeah,
you
they
said,
play the final game. Yeah.
So that could be for the division. Arizona eliminate themselves today. Seattle is still in play. No, Seattle. Yeah, Seattle's still in play for the wild card as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Rams look like if the Rams win out, they will win the West. The West could possibly get 2 teams in, depending on what happens, because Washington has to win out as well too. And Washington has, I want to say, Atlanta next week. So that's a big game for both teams.
Yeah.
It's so much. There's so much going on because Tampa's in first place right now, but they're down right now by 9 to Dallas. Atlanta's happy about that because Atlanta controls their own destiny. So Tampa loses, Tampa and Atlanta switches. Atlanta will be in the division lead. Tampa will be in the wild card slot. And then next week is a big game for Atlanta with Washington coming to town. If Washington loses, now you got Seattle knock on the door and Tampa knock on the door as well. So it's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on. It's going to go down to the wire. Philadelphia has Dallas next week, so they should right the ship, depending on what happens with Jalen Hurts, him being concussed. So Jalen Hurts concussion, Tampa losing right now, Seattle still in play, Arizona being eliminated, San Fran being eliminated.
Yeah.
You still the North, NFC North, the NFC South, and 2 wild card spots. So pretty much four playoff spots are still in play right now over the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be crazy.
Pretty much all the seeding is up for grabs right now too. So
yeah,
very, very interesting NFC right now. Just want to talk about the Lions real quick. What'd you think about their fake fumble play action play that Goff and Gibbs ran? I don't know if you saw it, but
I did.
When I saw it live, I thought it actually was because like Goff goes back and he like kind of stumbles, and then Gibbs just like goes flailing, and you can like audibly you could hear some people saying fumble, and of course Goff just kind of maintains his balance and then throws a bomb. to Williams for the touchdown.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams for the touchdown. And then you later on you see it was actually a fake, and I'm like, wow, this team is like, I don't know, like fine, do whatever. The Bears are bad, but like that's kind of a risky play. They're a risky team, honestly.
Well, here's my thing about that play. Was it a creative play? Yes. I've never seen that play before.
No.
Well, why are you running it against Chicago?
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Like you
I
could
mean,
have
a game
saved
you've
that.
got it. Yeah, right.
Save it against Minnesota
Yeah,
if the division's on the line. Save
right.
it for a playoff game.
Yeah.
Now it's on. Now you have that on tape now. So it's
Yeah.
like, why would you even run that against a team that you're probably gonna be by 21 anyways? I didn't understand the placement of that play in this game
Yeah.
this week. It didn't make sense. But I do give an A+ for the play design and creation of that play.
Yeah, I mean, it's very creative, and like I said, like, watching it the first time live, I was like, what a funky, like, lucky play," but then you see it, and it was on purpose, so
Yeah.
kudos to the Lions, but, tell you what, the Lions, man, they've done a lot of silly things the last few weeks, so when they lose in the playoffs, I'm just saying, I won't be surprised. I'm just gonna put it out there, like, will not and I do believe that if the Lions and Packers play again, now the Lions have beaten the Packers both times this year. But if they meet in the playoffs, I think the Packers win that game. If the Packers, like, come out firing like they did at the end of the last matchup, I think they'll beat the Lions.
Mm.
Because the old thing of, like, how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in one season?
It's very hard.
Yeah,
It's not done. It's not done often.
yeah.
And like you said, the Lions are even have been weakened by injuries since that Packers game. Montgomery's out possibly for the season, maybe the playoffs. I know he's getting reevaluated. They lost with 4 starters on defense, 5 if you include Hutchinson.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to rely on Goff to really like carry this offense, passing wise. So it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But they if any team needs home field, it's Detroit. They need home field. They need that crowd behind them.
Yeah.
I just can't see them going to Philly, trying to win a game at Philly in January. It's going to be too tough. Philly's defense is just too great. It'll be cold. That's a dome team as well.
Yeah.
They need home field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Talking about the Vikings a little bit, I know, like, we're not to the offseason yet, but I can't imagine with the way Darnold's played this year, and I mean, 13-2, like, how do they let him walk? I mean, they to me, they can't, right? They've got to, like, franchise tag him or sign him to a deal. Like, I just can't imagine you let that guy leave and go, well, we're going to hand off to JJ McCarthy because we drafted him high last year. I don't see how you would let that guy leave after what he's played.
You don't let him walk. You
Yeah.
tag him. You tag him. You assess the market, and you go from there. But you can't let him walk. At the end of the day, if push comes to shove, you get something for him if you can't agree to a deal. But again, this plays into the Vikings' hands perfectly because Darnold has never had a good year. This is his first time having a good year.
Yeah.
Darnold doesn't have much. He doesn't have much demand. He'll have demand, but like if you tag him and place like a designated second round, third round pick on him as a tag, then the ball is in Minnesota's court. But if you make it to the NFC Championship game and he balls out,
Yeah.
you can't let him go. You have to bring him back. And it seems like he's found a perfect home in that offense. Addison and Jefferson are dynamic playmakers. The throw he made to Jefferson for that touchdown, he stepped into the pocket, third and long,
yeah,
left hand side of the end zone. That's a big money, big time, top 10 quarterback throw, top 8 quarterback throw. If he and look, the arm talent has never been a question with Darnold. It's never been a question. He can make all the throws. It just comes down to decision making for him.
Yeah.
But once he has that running game behind him and those 2 great receivers, Hawkinson as well, this offense can put up 35 at any point in time, in any given week. And with that defense, with Flores running that defense, they're gonna be tough to beat, man. But I officially became a believer today. He played great today, and he made some big time throws. And man, I'll tell you what, man, if you're a DC, you're gonna have some sleepless nights because you can't just double cover Jefferson because you have Addison on the other side. Addison and Darnold are probably your co-MVPs on his offense. They haven't breakout years. They make defenses play honest now. And then with Aaron Jones back there, you got to pick your poison, man. And that's a team for the NFL landscape of the NFC. If one team you don't want to have a home field advantage, it's Minnesota, because with Minnesota, with that defense and that loud dome, it's going to be hard, man, to beat those guys there, especially if Darnold's playing turnover-free football.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I was going to bring up the same thing about that touchdown pass to Jefferson. You're under 4 minutes. You're on the road. You're in Seattle, which, Seattle isn't the same team it was the past. Right. It's loud. Like it's a tough place to play. To throw that 40-yard bomb there, and he, like you said, he stepped up in the pocket, took a shot. That was a money throw, and there's not a ton of dudes that are making those throws like he has, like he did today, and like he's done much of the season. And
yeah,
you're right. The situation he has with those receivers and the running game and Hawkinson, it's kind of a special thing they have going. It's like, I just don't see how you can go, well, we drafted McCarthy, we got to give him a chance. It's like, no, I think you write out Darnold and see, is this real? Because there was a reason why he was a top 5 pick, 6-7 years ago. And so
he's 27. He's still in his prime. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And push come to shove, I mean, the way I see it, if let's say Darnold balls out, right? He makes the NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, or whatever. You tag him, and then you still got old buddy from Michigan on a rookie deal. If you feel like you want to sit on him, or you want to move him, or you want to trade him, you can, because you have him on a rookie deal. There's no rush on trading the young Wolverine. Like, you can sit on him for this year and next year if you want to. It's not really a you're not forced to do anything right now with him.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah, being on a rookie deal really helps out in the quarterback spot. Speaking of some other quarterback news, let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. Made his first career start today. Also, the Falcons, sounds like the Falcons are going to end up cutting Kirk Cousins in the offseason. Maybe before then, I'm not sure. But they're determined to avoid a roster bonus that he was supposed to get. So the Kirk Cousins experiment sounds like it's over in Atlanta. And now we got Penix Jr. The Falcons got the win today. Did you see much of the game? What did you think of how Penix played?
I did. I thought he played mistake-free football. That pick that he had was not his fault. That was a Kyle Pitts drop right before halftime. Right. Yeah. But he made very judicious throws. He was accurate. I thought the game plan was good, relying on Bajan and the backup running back to get carries. The defense gave him 14 points on defense with pick sixes. So he didn't have to do too much. But for the throws that he made, that they called upon him to make, I thought he was deadly accurate. I thought he was on the money. He looked comfortable. He did. And I thought for the game plan that was called, I thought it was a good game plan to prep him for next week against Washington. That's gonna be a real test. I mean, this is for possibly the division or a wild card spot. So, prepping him and not putting too much on his plate, I thought they did a good job. The defense pretty much they scored more than the offense did today. Yeah. The pick six, and I wanted Bates. I think I had a pick six today.
They had 2 pick sixes, yeah.
Yeah, Bates and Judon, like they look good. They look good. And Bajan, he had a score. I think he had 90 yards rushing, 100 yards rushing, something like that.
Yeah,
it looked good. It looked like Penix had a good rapport with Darnell Mooney as well. Mooney has some good catches downfield, and this is the quarterback now of not just the future, but the now.
Yeah, you're right. That game next week is going to be huge. That'll be fun to watch, to see how he plays in that game. You mentioned about the talking about so they beat the Giants. The Giants have now lost 10 straight, which is franchise record for them. And speaking of 10 straight losses or 10 losses in a row, the Raiders actually ended their 10-game losing streak with a win over the Jaguars. Not a whole lot to say about this game. I just want to mention they snapped that streak. There's been a lot of streaks this year. You had today, the Vikings won to go. They've won 8 in a row. You had the Eagles have their 10-game winning streak snapped, and the Bears that have lost 9 in a row. There's just a lot of, I don't remember a season where there's been so many almost double-digit winning or losing streaks in the same season. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a crazy, crazy season, man. And when you watch a lot of these games, it comes down to two or three big plays in the fourth quarter. That's what separates these
Yeah.
average teams to above average teams. It's not.
Mm.
I mean, the Chiefs could easily be 5-9.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it just comes down to execution in the fourth quarter and taking care of the football and making the right play in the most crucial times.
Yeah. And just want to highlight one big game from a player today is the Jonathan Taylor, 218 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. He actually held on the ball as he crossed the plane too, all 3 times. So that was good compared to what happened to him last week. Uh, the Colts are still in it solely because of him. It seemed like today that was the case.
Yeah, the Colts, man, that's a team too. When they look back on their season, they had some just bone chilling losses. Both
Yeah.
losses to the Texans. They had a horrible loss to to the Jags as well.
Yeah.
They had some losses that even the loss last week, I know they got blown out, but that I think that fumble for Taylor, it just turned the game around against
Yeah.
Denver last week because they were
Yep.
leading and they could have been up by double digits, and after that it just fell apart. They just had a lot of like bone chilling losses, man, that could have easily be wins on their schedule. So they have to win out, but they need a lot of help.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely do. Um, Talking about, this year we talked about Bryce Young in the beginning because he struggled so much, but he played pretty well today again. The Panthers got an overtime win over the Cardinals, eliminating Arizona from the playoff picture with a Chuba Hubbard walk-off TD. What'd you see from Bryce Young today?
I saw him. I saw a lot of like development of him being comfortable now. He
Yeah,
looks confident in the pocket. He's making confident throws within the offense. He's not holding to the ball too long. He's being selective when to run. He's not taking off too early. He's letting the play develop in front of him. And I think the team is feeding off of that. They're playing competitive football on both sides of the ball. Um, that game, that game for Arizona, man, that's a letdown. I would say, I mean, for on the outside looking in, if you haven't been watching the Panthers, you will say to yourself, "Damn, the Cardinals fucked that off." But they didn't show up. No, man. Over the last month, since Bryce has been reinserted in the lineup, they've been super competitive, man, on both sides of the
yeah,
ball. It's like they've been injected with new life. Going in 2025, man, you got Penix, you got Bryce, Baker. I mean, that's a 3-team race until the Saints figure out what to do with their quarterback situation.
yeah,
But yeah, Bryce looks great, man. He looks good. Chuba's their back. He is now their back now. Like that
yeah,
guy, he had 150 yards of total offense, walk off touchdown. I mean, he had a good year last year. But Miles Sanders is going to find a new job come February. He's done in Carolina.
mhm,
They found their back of the present and the future.
yeah. It's good to see that like Bryce Young and Carolina show some life because honestly, this year, if you would have told me like, okay, which team, if a team's going to go winless, which team is it? I would have picked Carolina. And I would have been dead wrong because they've now won 4 games and they've been very competitive in about 4 or 5 other ones. So
Yeah, yeah,
they're definitely like they're kind of a team that's kind of entertaining to watch. Like it's a weird like never. I mean, I wouldn't say never, but Carolina usually is not a team like you're like, oh yeah, who's the Panthers? Who are the Panthers playing today? You're not like looking them up, but like the last 8 or 9 weeks, they've been fun to watch. So 2 more
yeah,
games to go. We'll see what happens.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they played Kansas City to the wire. They played the Eagles to the
Yeah,
wire. I think they got blown out once over the last 5 weeks. But other than that, they've
right.
been competitive every game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least it looks like Bryce Young has a future in the NFL, and
Yeah,
that
he's the
was
guy.
yeah, like week
But
2 or 3, we were already getting rid of him, but now he's back. So
but again, I preached this for years, man. You gotta let these kids sit. Like some kids are not meant to play right off the bat, especially when the team is not good. You
yeah,
gotta let kids sit. Like I think Drake May sitting for those 9-10 weeks really helped his development because he was able to hold a clipboard, see the game from the sidelines, take notes, watch a veteran do it, and he looks better for it. And I think that's
yeah,
you gotta let these kids sit, man. Not every top 10 pick is meant to play right away. And I think Carolina handled that poorly last year and this year. But I
Mhm.
think sitting him and let him watch the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton play for a few weeks, kind of gave him some confidence as well.
Yeah, and apparently if Andy Dalton hadn't have gotten into a minor car accident, he wouldn't have lost his job maybe because that's what
Yeah,
happened. He hurt his hand or wrist or whatever, and then, that opened the door for Bryce Young to get the job back. You mentioned about Drake May, the Patriots today, they were up 14-0 on the Bills in Buffalo.
yeah,
Buffalo came back, got the win 24-21. Um, what were you thinking when I mean, I'm sure you saw that game and you're like, "Hey, like, this could be great for the Chiefs because a loss today would have secured the number 1 seed."
yeah,
Buffalo didn't look good, though. I watched a big chunk of this game, and
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a hangover from everyone, praising them and Josh Allen being given the MVP basically before the season's over, but, like, and deservedly so, he's a great player, but
Yeah.
that was not a very impressive showing against a Patriots team that has Drake May, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with every good team, man, you're gonna have one of those games where coming off a big win,
Yeah,
the
let
last
down.
couple weeks, you're gonna fall flat, and then on top of that, you're playing a divisional opponent that's gonna give you their best shot. Like Gerard Mayer's team is playing tough. They're not that good, they're not that talented, but they're playing very competitive football. Um, for their lack of talent, and I
Yeah.
think Drake May is a guy that he's shown improvement over the last month. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, but that team plays hard for Mayo, and they haven't quit. And with it being a divisional game, you knew Buffalo was going to have their hands full. When I saw that 14-point spread, I'm like, I don't know about that, man. That's an emotional game come off last week. And then, stuff came out this week where, Josh Allen has a broken left hand. He hurt his hand in this game, his throwing hand in this game today. He was
Yeah.
shaking it over and over again in the game today. So he's beat up too, man. And
Yeah.
they're just trying to make it to the finish line. Hopefully with the 2 or the 1 seed.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Bills moving forward. Sticking in the division, we had this was probably the worst game of the day as far as like aesthetically was the Rams got the win over the Jets. Surprise, surprise, the Jets played the worst game of the day. 19-9. The Rams got the win. They're in the driver's seat now in the West, in the NFC West. They're 9-6. The Jets are now 4-11. And this was a game they could have won, but it was a rough every time Red Zone went to the Jets game, I was like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that." Like, you're making me consider turning the TV off, but, of course, I can't do that. But, yeah, tough watch for the Jets.
Jay boy, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I didn't watch a single down of that game. I don't. I can't give you. I can't say and give you analysis. I
Yeah,
saw the score. I think it was 9-6 at halftime. I saw Steph had 40 yards passed. I'm like, I'm good. I'm
yeah,
not going
yeah.
to.
Well, this is back-to-back games where the Rams, like, got wins, and on the road, but both were ugly, ugly games. Talking about San Francisco last week and then this week against the Jets.
I'll
Um,
tell you what, man. Stafford is fucking me, man. My other league, like this is the second week in a row where he's giving me just dud performances. Cooper Cup too. Like I have Stafford and Cup. I'm out the if I make it to the finals, I got to bench. I got to bench these guys. I can't
yeah,
afford 3 weeks of duds. Like I don't know what's going on with them. I know the weather's been. I know that they're playing inclement weather back to back weeks. I get it, but come on, man. You got to give me more than fucking 46 yards at halftime. I mean, what are we doing? Like, and I think what I read the Jets was damn. I think Sauce Gardner got hurt in that game too. So
mhm,
um, I don't know what's going on with the Rams. I don't understand it. Like it's they got to figure it out. I'm hoping it's just weather issues, and once they get back at home next week, they'll play better. But
mhm,
Cooper Cup side he's been on MI. He's been MIA for the last couple of weeks, man.
yeah.
And I mean, for one more dynamic, consistent receivers in the last 7 or 8 seasons in the NFL, that's inexcusable. They got to do a better job of trying to give him the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, get somebody the ball. Put some points on the board, do something because yeah, 2 weeks in a row the Rams, they got wins, but man, not a ton of fun to watch. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins. They got the win. They're still alive technically. They got the win over the Niners, 29-17. The Niners were eliminated before they even took the field. And then they played like it in this game. This was another rough game for the 49ers and for Brock Purdy. He didn't play too well. And it's really interesting because last year, Darnold was the backup to Purdy, and Darnold in limited time played pretty well. Now he didn't see the field a ton, but man, I wonder if San Francisco's like, man, I wish we could have maybe kept Darnold, given him a chance. Now, granted, Darnold has much better talent, much better health with the guys he has in Minnesota compared to what's happened in San Francisco, because that's, the 49ers are the walking wounded. I mean, everybody on the team is hurt. They're now on their fifth running back. Patrick Taylor, I believe, is his name. He's the fifth running back to get carries stuff for that franchise. From Miami's perspective, they did enough to win. They're still alive. What'd you think about this game?
One thing I learned about Miami, man, it looks like Miami's becoming a run first team. Devon Achane is
Yeah,
now the guy. Like he is, they run him like he's a bell cow. Like
yeah,
he's getting like 24, 25 touches a game, run or catching opportunities. He is the guy. Tyreek Hill has had a very pedestrian season. I don't think it's due to skill. I think he's still one of the more explosive receivers in the game. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way teams are playing Miami now. Not having Waddle didn't help it. Didn't help it as well either. But Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane have been like the guys now. They've been the nucleus of their offense, and it looks like Tua. It looks like that's what they're evolving to. For San Fran, I've been saying this for the last month. I'm gonna keep saying it. I don't know. Shanahan's a great coach. I just don't know he's a great coach. I think he's a
yeah,
good coach. I don't. But we got to reevaluate the top tier of coaches in the NFL. I don't think he's up there anymore. I don't think he manages the game well. Again, that game was competitive all throughout, and you don't run the ball. Like they just didn't run the ball. I think Patrick Taylor had like 7 carries in that game.
yeah,
I'm like, y'all wasn't down like by double digits at any point in this game. I
yeah.
think it
Till
was
the end.
down 16 to 10, I want to say, but there was still in play to run the ball, and they had a game script as if they had Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Burrow back there, and they just I don't know what their identity it is. They don't have an identity. Kittle had a good game. It looked like Debo woke up today and had a good game as well, but
Yeah,
Purdy continues to make bad decisions, man. Even on that last drive, he had Patrick Taylor open in the middle of the field for a first down. And he throws it on the left-hand corner for a pick. Purdy's not seen the ball. He's not seen the field well.
yeah,
He's regressed like mightily, and a lot of that's coaching, man. To me, that's
mhm,
coaching. When
yeah,
you're making these bad reads from last year to this year, you're digressing. You're regressing. It's something that's going on with how you're being coached and the play calling in the game script. It didn't look like they knew what they wanted to do in this game.
yeah. Especially with Purdy, it looks like he's like going for the big play too often. Whereas,
Yeah,
like you said, he's got people in front of him. He's got people open. Just move the chains and keep it going. But
exactly.
yeah, another day of just bad quarterback play from Brock Purdy. Can't imagine he's going to get the 60 million that his agency is looking for. That just sounds insane for
I would
anybody. But like the way he's playing this year, I mean, if you get half that, that'd be amazing. But I mean,
I don't see John Lynch giving him 60 million. I don't see John Lynch even giving him 50 million. I
yeah,
think there's too much film out there to suggest that to strongly suggest he's not a $50 million player.
yeah,
That's not who he is. He's just too limited as a quarterback. It's not his fault. I mean, that's just who
yeah,
he is. But like, he's a guy that needs complementary pieces around him to be successful.
yeah,
And once that chess piece named Christian McCaffrey was taken off the board most of the year, you saw a very pedestrian, mediocre quarterback, and that's what he is.
yeah,
He's a very mediocre guy who excels with great play calling and a great running game. And you take that away from him, he's a marginal back end starter in the NFL.
yeah. And I think, like you said, I think coaching could also help him a little bit because I do think that he has enough talent to be a good quarterback. I think he's potentially could be a top 10 quarterback in this league, top 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there were times this season where he looked like he was definitely in that group, but last 4 or 5 games he has not played well, and the team also just it's kind of like they quit. I mean, now they're 6-9. Now they don't have a chance even for a winning season for a team that has been in the Super Bowl last few years or has been at like an NFC Championship game almost every year.
Yeah.
They missed the playoffs and now not even have a winning record. It's a pretty big fall for the 49ers.
I mean, depending on where they fall, Justin, in the draft, I mean, they might need to look at quarterback in the first round. I mean,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
not,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it looks like they'll be drafting a team, so they'll have to trade up. I don't know if they want to do that, but
right.
depending on what quarterbacks fall, you might need to take a look at drafting a quarterback in the first, second round because they
Yeah.
need. You can't give that kid 60 million, man. You cannot cap strap your team like that by giving that kid that money. He's not that kind of guy. He's not that upper echelon of quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, they still have him under contract for next year so that they don't have to make the decision right away, but usually like with the quarterback, you do want to kind of have it locked up before, you enter the final year. So,
But per these people, I'm telling you what's going to happen. Come February, when March, when the new league year starts,
yeah.
he's gonna be like, I want a new contract. I don't want to go into next year making
Right.
45,000. I want a new deal, and I'm not coming to voluntary workouts in March, and I'm not coming to camp, or I'm not coming to involuntary workouts until I get a new deal. And if you're San Fran, do you tag him?
Good
Well,
question.
no, never mind. Well, they could tag him. Well, could they tag him if he has a year left? Well, yeah, next year's his last year, right?
Right. Yeah. Next
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. So they could tag him for next year.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I mean, honestly, for him, that'd be great
Yeah, I
for that
mean,
year. I mean,
if I was playing a tag, if I could, what would the tag? 40 million?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put a tag if I him. Rip the
Yeah.
new deal on a tag, but it's just, again, if you're San Fran, you got to exhaust all options. And if Darnold's available, I mean, if he's not tagged, I don't see why the Vikings wouldn't tag him. But
Yeah.
let's say he does walk away free, as a free agent, you got to consider that as an option, you know. So
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. It's interesting to see a team that like I think could be in for major changes. You never know. Like
yeah,
I think Shanahan's going to stick around, but I mean, they lose out. Who knows? Maybe they just start over with a new coach, and I don't know. We'll see. Crazy things happen in the NFL sometimes when you don't
you
expect
never,
them.
yeah, you never know. I mean, I don't think Shanahan's going to leave, but you never know. You never know what's being said or what's being discussed behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It could be, him and Lynch. I'm not sure what's him and Lynch's relationship like, but I think it's safe to say Debo's gone. I don't think he's coming back on
No.
the money that he's making.
Yeah.
You got to pay. I mean, you got to do something with Warner. He's one of the better linebackers in football, so
Yeah.
you have to make a decision on him as well. They got some decisions to make
They
moving forward
definitely
for
do.
sure.
Yeah, they definitely do. That about does about with our NFL stuff for the week. Again, like we're recording this on a Sunday night. Cowboys are actually up on the Bucks 26-17 in the fourth quarter. Tomorrow night, the Monday night game is the Saints and the Packers. So we won't be talking about that one this week, but we'll be talking about the Packers and Saints. Maybe not the Saints next week, but the Packers probably for sure. Um, Frank, let's move over to college football because this was a supposed to be a big weekend for college football fans. You had the first ever 12-team college football playoffs kicked off with the first round. You had the home teams dominated all 4 games. You had Notre Dame beating Indiana 27-17 on Friday. Then you had Penn State rolling over SMU 38-10. You had Texas in what was the best game of the weekend, winning against Clemson by 2 scores, 38-24. And finally, in the nightcap last night, you had Ohio State just dominating Tennessee 42-17. Is there besides the home teams just killing the road teams in the first round? Is there any takeaways from this that you want to point out from the first round?
Um, the teams I expected to won heavily,
Yeah,
heavily. And I think in college sports, man, home field means the world.
yeah,
I mean, you see it with teams who are great going to on the road with teams who are not so good. Alabama went to Vanderbilt and got rocked. Alabama went to OU and got rocked.
yeah,
Georgia went to Ole Miss and got rocked. Like home field is like the Popeye to their spinach. Right?
yeah,
It's the remedy. It's what gets these 18-year-olds going. And when you're playing on the road, there's an added level of pressure. The crowd, the hostility of the stadium. I think that played a role in all of these games for the road team. And when the level of excitement is there for the home team, it's that extra juice that the home team gets that oftentimes the road team just can't compete with, and that's kind of been the mainstay with college
yeah.
sports. So
What do you think about now? This is something I've heard a ton in the last 24 hours about.
yeah,
This just shows that they shouldn't expand the playoffs because now that we have 12 teams, because we have 4 blowouts basically,
yeah,
this shows that maybe it should have been an 8-team playoff to begin with, or maybe 4 teams is enough. I mean, to me, I think personally, like, I think after one weekend, you can't make the decision and say, "Oh, well, for sure this was a mistake." But I got to say this weekend was the games were pretty one-sided and pretty boring.
I'm gonna say the opposite. I'm gonna say not only that it was blowouts, they can possibly expand to 16 because of
Yeah.
money. Like
Oh, and I think they will. I think they will.
it's
Yeah.
not gonna the blowouts to me are not going to deter
Yeah.
NCAA and the CFP committee of
Right.
possibly expanding. Because if ESPN says, "Hey, we'll fork up another 500 million for content for Saturday nights in December or early January," if CBS says, "Hey, we want in on the run," hey, if Amazon comes in and say, "Hey, we want y'all to go 16 so we can get 4 games on our Amazon slate," they'll
Yeah.
probably expand because
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
money. And then like for the CFP, you're happy that Penn State won. You're happy that Texas won, Ohio State won.
Yeah.
You're happy because those are blue blood programs, right? Like
Yeah.
those are mainstay college football programs that won and won heavenly, which is going to like create even more excitement for those teams going to next week. So I think it was a success as far as CFP is concerned because of like who won and how dominant they won.
Yeah.
And for those teams that won and dominated, also too, recruiting is going to play a role as well.
Mhm.
I think if you expand to 16 or whatever, now the SMU's gonna be like, hey man, we'll play in the SEC. We'll we can probably win our division, our conference, and play on Saturday nights and in December. Come be a
Mhm.
difference maker for us. So I think even though blowouts, it helps the CFP and it helps these blue bloods strengthen their hold more, and then on TV contracts as well. It creates more of a demand because I feel like Amazon and Netflix and a lot of these other streaming giants going in on the action.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for the business of college football, like, yeah, the expansion is great, and that just means there's gonna be more of it. I think it'll be 16 teams in, like, 3 or 4 years probably. Hell, it'll end up probably being 32 teams in 10 years, and the playoffs will start Thanksgiving weekend or something. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I can definitely see that being a reality. I think the problem I think there's a lot of people, like, the people who are actually trying to determine the best team, which there's no perfect way to do that. There just
yeah,
isn't. You have unbalanced conferences. You got, it's like the way it's all set up. There's almost no perfect way to do it. Um, I do wish that a couple of the games would have been more competitive. I thought Indiana Notre Dame was actually going to be a game. I really did,
yeah,
and it was maybe. I mean, obviously Tennessee got rolled by Ohio State, but
yeah,
the Notre Dame game, like, deceiving because all of Indiana's points came in the final 2 minutes. I mean, it was a dominant, like, 27-3 for. for 3 and almost 85% of the game. So it was not a competitive contest whatsoever.
I
Yeah,
also
go
I
ahead.
also think too, like I think one thing this weekend showed me is that the stars, the 4 or 5 stars of these recruits make a difference
Oh
in
yeah,
these games. Like you
definitely.
saw the sheer variance of talent on both sides of the ball
Yeah,
on all in all these games. You saw the sheer physicality and size of Texas O line just blowing Clemson off the board and running for a tune of almost 300 yards rushing. You saw Ohio State just throw the ball down the field to their 5-star receivers, Jeremiah Smith and Emeka, who's going to the NFL in a few months. And you saw like just the talent disparity, man, between these teams.
yeah,
SMU, man, look, they had I get it. They got blown the fuck out. They look like they didn't belong. But at the end of the day, you got to recruit. And I think for SMU, with them being the ACC now, this is as bad as it looked. They can build on this now and really start recruiting.
yeah,
Try to get some 4 stars in there. I don't know if we get any 5 stars in there, but this is going to be a recruiting battle now for these new bloods, these new teams who are trying to make a name for themselves. I know Indiana had 30 recruits come from James Madison. I can't remember where the coach came from. Maybe James Madison, but they had 30 transfers come in this year, so that was pretty much a new team
yeah.
for Indiana. They just ran into a buzzsaw, man. Like Notre Dame, these teams have 4 or 5 star guys all across the board, and it just showed.
Yeah, yeah. Notre Dame's defense is pretty stout, and it'll be interesting because now we have the quarterfinal matchups. And speaking of Notre Dame, they're going to take on Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. I think a lot of people see that game when they first see that matchup, and they go, "Oh, Georgia's going to kill them." But like
I don't know.
this Georgia is not the same Georgia the past 5 years,
Yeah.
and this Notre Dame is not the same Notre Dame. Like it to me, that's going to be a physical game.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame is physical, man.
Yeah,
They hit you in the fucking mouth, and they can run the ball with reckless abandonment. I think when Riley Leonard when they lean on the run and play action off the run, that's when they're at their best. They got athletes all across that front seven, all across the O line. So, and with Georgia, Carson Baker's not gonna play. It's gonna be the young junior that play against Texas. He adds an element as far as mobility. They're probably going to use next week when they play Notre Dame. But Georgia, man, they don't have the weapons on the outside they had in previous seasons. Like they don't have a McCoy out there. They don't have a George Pickens out there. They don't have a Bowers out there.
yeah,
They lost Bowers, lost Lance McConkey, and those guys out there are still young. They're still unproven. So to me, that's gonna be a strength on strength game. But Georgia's O line, Georgia's D line is their strength. Notre Dame's O line and D line is their strength. So it's gonna be a strength on strength type of game in that battle.
yeah. Then in the Rose Bowl, you've got the Big Ten the Big Ten rematch from earlier this season. You have Ohio State taking on Oregon. What do you see in that matchup? Oregon won the first matchup during the season. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just Ohio State on paper is more talented than Oregon,
Yeah.
but in college football, typically the better team with the better quarterback is typically is a team that you want to go for. And I think Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, man, he's an excellent talent. I mean, I don't know if he's an NFL prospect, but he's a guy that he can make all the throws. He's mobile. Oregon has a really, really good D line. So the time that Ohio State's quarterback had in that Tennessee game, he won't have that kind of time in that game against Oregon. Oregon they get after the passer, and for Ohio State, it's just limited mistakes. I mean, they had some mistakes in the Oregon game, that first matchup that kind of cost them. So they're going to clean it up a little bit against Oregon because Oregon they spread you out. They can run the ball. They hit you with crossers. they can rush the passer. So it's gonna be a really, really good game. And I think whoever wins this game is going to the championship. I think the winner of that game is going to the championship.
Will be the title game. Okay. In the Peach Bowl, you'll have Texas taking on Arizona State. Texas seemingly of the match seems like they have the easiest road, or do you disagree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Arizona State gonna lose about 17 to 20 points. Their quarterback is really, really good. He's a really good quarterback, but again, this college football is all about the trenches, man. And who has a better quarterback? Who has the better lines in the trenches? And Texas, again, they have the Allen Trophy winner at left tackle. Their O line outweighs Arizona State by like 60 pounds. They're just physical. They're road graders. They ran over Clemson, and Clemson has a better D line than Arizona State does. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be ugly. Like, if you're Arizona State, you're going to have to try to get some turnovers, try to slow the game down, try to go sideline on Texas with the horizontal passing game, try to wear Texas defense out. But Texas has the Outland winner on the O-line. They have the Jim Thorpe winner at DB. Like, they have a rushing attack with Jalen Blue and Quatavius. They'll load it, and then they did all of this. They scored damn near 40 points without the best receiver who was out. So Isaiah Bond didn't play, and he might be back next week. So that's probably the most lopsided matchup as far as next week with all the teams, with Texas and Arizona State.
Then probably the second most lopsided would probably be the next game, Fiesta Bowl, Penn State versus Boise State. And this has got to be Penn State, right? Or no?
Yeah. I have Penn State, but again, I think Boise is better than we think. Boise played Oregon earlier this year, and they could have beat Oregon. They lost by a touchdown against Oregon. Genty had over 140 yards rushing against Oregon. They couldn't stop him, and this could be a Genty game against Penn State. So we'll see. I think Penn State is going to be a favorite. I can see them being an 7 or 8 point favorite, but they got to be careful, man. I mean, their quarterback, Penn State's quarterback, he's prone to make mistakes. So if they get a couple of turnovers, that could be a very close game.
Yeah. I've been interested to see how the quarterfinals how they play out, and those are not until New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day. So we've got a little time before those games, and we'll definitely be talking about those in a few weeks. On the podcast. So, Frank, any final thoughts about college you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, man. I'm excited for these matches moving forward, and let's see what it brings us next Saturday.
Yeah, let's get to that. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to what the NFL gives us. Of course, like I said, we have Christmas Day games, so enjoy that. There's 5 NBA games. If you want to watch NBA all day long, you potentially could. So a lot of sports coming up on the holidays. So just want to say happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. And we're going to wrap it up now. I want a special thank you to Yesenia Martinez in the chat for joining us in the live chat. We always appreciate those who do that. And that's the best way to get involved with the show. And, we're on YouTube. So do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, comment below. We appreciate all that stuff. It really helps us out. And if video podcasts are not your thing, that's okay, because we're also on Apple Podcasts and we're on Spotify. So check us out there. Be sure to subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. That always helps us out. And check us out on social media. We're at Watchers Basement. And be sure to use the hashtag Watchers Basement. So for Frank, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week. Once again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and have a good night. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.